It's 4:18 a.m. on May 20, 2025. In the Pacific, 50 miles off California, the destroyer USS Kidd cuts through dark waves when a Coast Guard MH-65 Dolphin suddenly locks onto a faint radar blip. Alarms snap to life. Crew rush to battle stations. Outside, the sea looks calm, but somewhere beneath, a narco-sub packed with 8 tons of cocaine is trying to slip past. The next minutes decide if it escapes or gets caught red-handed. In the Eastern Pacific, far from land but close to vital shipping lanes, the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard patrol for threats most people never see. These waters are not just empty blue on a map, they are highways for global trade. Every container ship passing here carries goods that fuel daily life back home. If those routes are not safe, prices climb, insurance spikes, and allies begin to wonder if the U.S. can still guarantee security at sea. On May 20, 2025, that question is on the line. USS Kidd, a guided missile destroyer, is deployed to guard the approaches to California. Alongside, a Coast Guard helicopter and a Navy P-8 Ampere Poseidon scan the ocean. Their mission is simple but urgent: stop smugglers before they reach U.S. shores. Tonight, the opponent is a narco-submarine built by the Sinaloa Cartel, 18 meters long, painted blue to vanish in open water, able to haul 8 tons of cocaine worth $200 million. Its operators are armed and desperate. And worse, hidden inside is intelligence material, suggesting they may know far more about U.S. defenses than expected. If this vessel slips through, the consequences ripple far beyond drugs. It would mean the cartel can reach American waters with near military precision. It would embolden them to strike harder, perhaps even retaliate against U.S. forces abroad. And within 72 hours, Washington will learn just how far cartels are willing to escalate. This clash is more than a drug bust. It is a collision between state power and a criminal navy. One side fights to enforce order on the seas. The other dares to challenge it openly. Who do you think shows more resolve in this showdown? Press 1 if you stand with the Navy, or 9 if you believe the cartels will stop at nothing. On the U.S. side, the destroyer USS Kidd, carrying powerful radar that can sweep the sea surface, long-range missiles to strike early, and sonar gear to listen beneath the waves. Supporting it, a Coast Guard MH-65 Dolphin helicopter with infrared cameras can hover close and track small vessels, while a Navy P-8 Ampere Poseidon aircraft drops sonar buoys to confirm what hides below. Together they form a net that is hard to slip through. On the other side, the Sinaloa Cartel's Narco-Submarine. Unlike crude homemade boats, this one is designed to run low in the water, painted blue, so it blends with the ocean, with a range of 3,000 nautical miles. Inside, 4 crewmen armed with rifles, pistols, and orders to deliver their cargo at any cost. It carries 8 tons of cocaine and, more dangerously, secret intelligence notes pointing to U.S. facilities. Both sides want control of the same thing: freedom of movement at sea. The Navy's objective is to stop the vessel, seize its cargo, and prove that America can defend its coasts. The cartel's objective is survival, reputation, and profit. If they succeed, it shows that criminal groups can operate like navies of their own. If they fail, it proves U.S. reach extends deep into the Pacific, leaving no safe passage for smugglers. 4:32 a.m. The sonar team on USS Kidd hears faint echoes, something long and metallic sliding beneath the Pacific surface. The watch officer orders the Coast Guard helicopter to tighten its search. The MH-65 Dolphin circles Cles, its radar painting the ocean. Seconds later, the P-8 Ampere Poseidon drops a line of sonar buoys. The return confirms it: a semi-submersible, barely breaking the surface, moving slow and steady toward U.S. waters. The commander acts fast. He orders the helicopter closer to mark the target. The Dolphin's infrared camera locks onto a blue shape barely above the waves. Over the radio, voices are crisp, urgent. Contact confirmed. Narco-Sub 18 meters. 4 souls on board. The next move belongs to the Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment riding aboard Kidd. They launch their RHIB fast, low boats designed to race across waves and close distance. Why launch small boats first? It buys time and gives the Navy a chance to capture, not destroy. If the smugglers surrender, evidence and cargo are preserved. If they fight back, kids' heavier weapons can still respond. The crew knows every second counts. Waiting too long risks the sub slipping deeper or its crew scuttling the vessel. As the RHIBs approach, the cartel crew reacts. They cut speed, then try to dive deeper. But their vessel is only semi-submersible, it cannot fully vanish. Gun crews on Kidd track the horizon but hold fire. Rules of engagement matter. Lethal force is last resort. Over the bow, you can feel the wind rise as sailors man their stations. Radios link ship, aircraft, and boarding team to avoid overlap or gaps. The P-8 Ampere watches from above. The Dolphin hovers low, and the RHIB cuts through spray toward the Narco-Sub. Shouts echo over loudspeakers. Stop your vessel, prepare to be boarded. For 10 seconds, nothing happens. Then one of the smugglers raises a rifle. In that instant, the Coast Guard team fires warning shots across the bow. The cartel crew freezes, then throws weapons overboard. Seconds later, the boarding team climbs onto the hull, pries open the hatch, and takes control. Inside, 4 exhausted men, crates stacked floor to ceiling, and binders filled with sensitive intelligence. The sub is secured, but the moment shows the stakes. It's not just drugs, it's information, and it's proof that cartels are testing how far they can push. One side enforces law, the other dares to challenge it head-on. Which side do you think has the edge in this fight? Press 1 for the Navy, or 9 for the cartel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next clash. After all, this was only the opening move in a game that is about to get far more dangerous. Just 72 hours later, the victory at sea begins to unravel. From deep inside Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel sends a chilling encrypted message directly threatening the US president. At the same time, explosions rip through American-linked warehouses across the border. Telecom towers collapse in flames, and graffiti appears on the walls near the US Embassy in Mexico City. Bold letters spelling out defiance. The Navy thought the battle ended when the sub was seized, but the cartel has turned the tables. This is no longer about drugs, it is open retaliation. Intelligence analysts confirm the cartel is now adapting its technology. New narco-subs are being built faster, fitted with radar jammers, oil slick systems to confuse sensors, and even escape pods for crews. More alarming, hackers tied to the cartel probe US Coast Guard networks, searching for weak points. The crew of USS Kidd understands what this means. Every success will be answered with escalation. The fight is shifting from one captured vessel to an asymmetric war, stretching from the depths of the Pacific to the streets of Mexico. What was once a quiet patrol has now become the front line of a shadow conflict, one where a criminal navy dares to strike back against the United States. How do crews prepare for moments like this? Training. Repetition turns panic into instinct. Sailors drill the same sequence again and again. Detect, call, confirm, act, and reassess. Every role is practiced until it feels automatic, because in real combat, hesitation can cost lives. One key tactic is narrowing the threat's path. By forcing a hostile vessel into a predictable lane, last-ditch weapons have a clean shot. It sounds simple, but it takes coordination across radar operators, gunners, and pilots, all trusting each other's timing. That discipline is what separates a professional Navy from a cartel boat running on luck. Which do you trust more in this fight? Press 1 if you believe training wins, or 9 if you think cartel chaos can still break through. And remember to subscribe so you won't miss how this conflict escalates. The night grows darker, but the fight is not over. Hours after the Narco-Sub seizure, a second contact appears on sonar, this time moving faster, almost taunting the Navy. USS Kidd's bridge goes silent, then bursts into action. Orders fly, battle stations again. The watch team tracks the new target. The commander authorizes defensive posture. The ship readies its long-range missiles. Gun crews load last-ditch weapons. On deck, sailors lock eyes. Fatigue is real, but focus is sharper. Suddenly, splashes break the calm. From the shadowy horizon, a small speedboat races in, armed cartel escorts trying to reclaim the captured crew. Tracers spark across the waves. Kid fires flares to blind their approach. The Coast Guard RHIB maneuvers hard, cutting across to intercept. One boat closes in too fast. Kid's gunners unleash controlled bursts. Spray erupts. The boat veers, smoke trailing before it shatters into fragments. Another swings wide, trying to flank. The P-8 Ampere above relays bearings, guiding fire with precision. Every second feels stretched. The crew breathes in sync with the rhythm of weapons. A burst from the closing gun streaks into the night sky, then slams into the speeding hull. The blast throws debris high. The last hostile boat cuts its engines, crew scrambling to surrender. But the danger isn't gone. Kid's sonar still hums with echoes, false returns, decoys released by the cartel. For tense minutes, the crew can't be sure if another sub is lurking just beyond range. The commander orders steady turns to narrow the ship's profile, minimizing the chance of surprise attack. Eyes scan every wave, every shadow. Finally, the horizon clears. The Pacific falls quiet again. Kid's crew holds steady, scanning for more. No one cheers. The danger could return at any moment. Damage checks roll out across compartments. The boarding team secures prisoners. The P-8 Ampere confirms no additional vessels are closing in. It's victory for now. But the message is clear. The cartel is no longer content with smuggling. They are willing to fight U.S. warships head-on. And if they can adapt this quickly, the next clash will be even sharper, even deadlier. The crew knows tonight was only one battle in a longer campaign, one where both sides are determined not to back down. For every win, a counterstrike may follow, and that cycle is only accelerating. This was more than a skirmish, it was a test of will. Do you believe America's discipline will always overcome cartel chaos? Press 1 if yes, or 9 if you think the cartel still has a chance to strike back, and make sure you subscribe, because the next battle will raise the stakes even higher. Result: the Narco-Sub is captured, its cargo seized, its crew detained. The speedboat escorts lie destroyed or drifting, their operators either in custody or scattered across the Pacific. On the surface, the scene looks like a clean U.S. win. USS Kidd still sails, the Coast Guard team is intact, and millions of dollars worth of cocaine will never reach American streets. But no one aboard celebrates. Sailors check compartments, radios crackle with reports, and analysts sift through the seized intelligence. What they find suggests a darker picture. The cartel is adapting, building more advanced semi-subs, even probing into cyber warfare. For Washington, the takeaway is clear. This was not a one-time fight, but the start of a wider campaign. For allies watching the Pacific and Caribbean, the message is sharp. America can project power and enforce law far from its shores. But the cartels, once just smugglers, are now acting like a shadow navy. If left unchecked, they could turn trade routes into battle zones, forcing shipping companies to reroute or pay higher insurance. That would ripple through economies on both sides of the ocean. In the end, this clash is about more than drugs. It is about credibility. Can the U.S. guarantee safety at sea when criminal groups fight with military-style tools? The answer, for now, is yes, but the cost is constant vigilance. The cartel has shown it will not retreat quietly. Every move the Navy makes will be matched, tested, and challenged. That cycle may define the next chapter of this shadow war. Tonight, USS Kidd held the line. The Pacific stays open, trade routes secure, and America proves it can push back against new threats. But the fight is not finished. The cartel is already working on faster, stealthier subs, and whispers suggest they may even study nuclear-powered designs. So the question is, what happens when the cartel doubles its fleet or adds a surprise from the air? Press 1 if you believe the Navy will prevail, or 9 if you think the cartel's next move could change the game. And don't forget to subscribe, because in our next episode, we'll take you inside the scenario where the battle shifts from the waves below to threats striking from above.